I did not forget to give you the flow of my day and how to create space for homeschool. I didn't forget that, just the other video was too long. So the most important thing about flow of the day is, first of all, that you have a schedule and you stick to it. And second of all is that you get rid of your schedule. And what I mean by that is have a rhythm that you establish with your children, but recognize at about a month, maybe 2 months, you need to change it. There is something about things being novel, things being new and changing that makes our brain absorb knowledge better. So I will tell you right now what our flow is, but that flow is going to change in about 2 weeks. We've been doing it for a month and we're about to change it in 2 weeks just because we're completing the classes that we're on. So I'm going to start by reading you a poem. And this poem is the basis of why we have the flow that we do right now. Stick with me. Maybe this is how we learn the value of kindness, when the whole world is like a small child with a fever, trying her very best to make herself feel better. Maybe we find our unity in the near losing of everything, where we have no choice but depend on each other. This is what it takes to realize we are all in this together. A man helps someone he dislikes because they are in danger. A neighbor delivers groceries to everyone ill on their street. Old friends forget each other. They stop acting like they are strangers. Maybe this time the revolution arrives dressed as kindness. People helping each other despite their differences, understanding truly that without the aid of others, we would be all alone in this. That is by Nikita Hill. I share that with you because the last month of our CASA schooling and the next 2 weeks has not been academic centric. It's been about kindness and being part of humanity. And it's based on the idea that art will save us, that if we can recognize the beauty in the art in one another, and if we can be heroes for one another, then we will be the rescue. So typically, the schedule that we do has a lot more details to it. But right now, the focus has been thriving and being kind and taking care of others, which has been kind of tricky since we can't interact with people. So it's been a lot of time spent talking on the phone to loved ones and doing Zoom calls. And it's been a lot of letter writing and a lot of surprise service to one another that goes unannounced. And that's what we've been focused on. That said, this is our schedule. I told you that we got 2 new puppies. Our 2 new puppies dictate our schedule right now. They get up at about 6:30 in the morning. They need to use the bathroom, so do we. And we take a morning family walk at about 6:30. I really very much recommend starting the day with some sort of exercise, even before you eat, getting outside if you can. Our circadian rhythms beg for light. And if you get outside in the sunlight, it gets you to a different level of being wakeful. So we start with a walk. Those of us who want to will do a run. And some of us do an exercise program that we found on YouTube that we love. And then at about 7:30 or 8, we're not exact on times. We simply have a schedule that says we go from this to this to this to this. Because if you try to do exact times, you're just gonna let yourself down because life happens. So we start in the morning with the puppies and a walk and exercise. And then we move. My older kids have created an orchestra at home. So I have a double bassist, a cellist, a pianist, a guitarist, and a violinist. And they get together and they play for an hour. They take turns as to who's the maestro and who is leading it. And while they do that, I am typically hanging out with the littles. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we do what is called magic carpet time. And this is where I just need to pause because I'm going to pause right now. I'm not going to be talking about schedule for a second. And I'm going to talk about creating space in your home. You need to have a spot that is like the holy CASA school spot. And everybody knows when you go to that spot, you're on. You're not going to the bathroom, and you're not running to the door if it's rung by FedEx, and you're not going to go to a phone if it's ringing. It is just CASA school spot. And nothing is allowed in there but you and your notes and your pens and your books that you need, okay? Our CASA school spot is just a little tiny, it's the size of a doormat rug. And it is a prayer rug we got when we were living in the Middle East. So it is a Muslim prayer rug where people will prostrate themselves 5 times a day in prayer. We don't prostrate ourselves 5 times a day in prayer, but we gather around it, and everybody knows when that prayer rug is out, we're business. We're doing things for real. We have had this prayer rug for 8 years. And the littles, I don't think, even have any idea the connection to the call to prayer and Islam and living in the Middle East. They don't know that story. They're able to see the respect that the older kids have for it when it comes out. That it means that we are on and we are learning and we are kind with one another and we are present. So I gather with the littles on the Casa school rug, the prayer rug, and we read books, we read picture books, and we do coloring. And then if it's not a cereal or oatmeal day, lots of days are cereal or oatmeal days, I will cook pancakes or French toast or a nicer oatmeal that takes longer time to simmer with the littles. The blueberry cupcakes, muffins are the most popular thing right now. That gets us to like in the 8s somewhere. And the goal is somewhere in the 8s, we jump into the substance of what we're studying right now. And let me share my screen with you so you can see that. The substance of what we are studying right now is not this. Here we go. It is based on this. There is a great TED Talk given by a doctor, Dr. Amen, A-M-E-N, and he discusses different ways at looking at brain damage. And it's something that I saw years and years and years ago. And my 15-year-old is very interested in being a neurologist. And so she's oftentimes finding videos about neuro issues. So he created this interface that is a free class that's called the End of Mental Illness, Brain Health Revolution 6-Week Challenge. So the reason why my family moved across the nation is because my dad has early onset dementia. And I mean, it started when he was 57, very young. So this is very much on the forefront of our minds. So we have been doing this 6-week challenge where every day we look at the nutrients that are going in. We think about the negative conversations we're having with ourselves. We make sure we start taking vitamin D3. I mean, there's you know, it's a 6-week challenge. Little videos that accompany it. I will tell you that the Amen Clinic will pepper you with emails trying to get you to buy this and that and the other, but it's totally free. And we've really enjoyed it because it's helped us to look at the spaces where we've been saying negative things about the trauma that the earth is going through right now. And even if you're not in the midst of the pandemic, this is a great resource for learning about the brain, learning about mental illness, learning about perspectives of how we see sicknesses. One person might see something as a sickness and another person might see it as a strength. The deaf community, for example, does not at all feel like that they are undercut because they don't have the ability to hear. The only way that they're undercut is the hearing community undercutting them. They have a vibrant community of signs. So it's been an incredible class, but this is what we've been on for these 6 weeks. We do this for about 20 minutes usually, then we jump to Imagineering in a Box. This is a free class that Disney released. It's on Khan Academy, but it's free. It's been delicious. It is all about how they design the worlds in Disneyland and Disney World. And they walk you straight through it. It's well put together, wildly edited. It's beautiful. Well, what we've been doing is in that zone where we have our magic carpet, we have a naked wall because we moved into this house that needs to be remodeled. We have ripped the wallpaper down and we are putting all of our ideas for our Imagineering in a Box up on that wall. So right there beside our zone of this is for real prayer rug, we have all of these different ideas going up for creating our own imaginary worlds, okay? It's been a great starting point for writing our novels. All of the kids have different creative writing projects that they're doing. It's also been a really wonderful way of bringing to life books that they have loved reading. They've taken books that they've loved reading and created imaginary worlds with them. It's been a wonderful class, highly recommend it. To go along with this, we've been doing a free permaculture class. It's right here, freepermaculture.com. This class has really been delicious. It's all about, you know, designing your life so you recognize the abundance and so you learn the skills that you need for growing that abundance. This combined with the Imagineering in a Box is the reason why you are getting this class right now. If we weren't being constantly taught by these resources, the abundance we have and the skills that we have needing to be shared, we wouldn't be bothering. So I have to say these are just great resources. We do the End of Mental Illness, Imagineering in a Box, and free permaculture. Together, we do those things for about 2 hours. And that's the biggest secret of homeschooling, guys. We usually do homeschooling about 3 hours. At that point, we're creating lunch. And you know, you can include that as an hour, as I've mentioned. And then after that, we're doing outside activities. We are playing with younger siblings. People are writing their books. People are doing some more individual music practice. And then at night, I've told you that we end things at 8 p.m. because we don't want to have screens going in our eyes after that for sleep. That idea is from learning about mental illness. So at that point, we're all doing literature. We do watch movies. We've watched a ton of movies during the pandemic. So the real answer to what's the flow of my day is we get up and we jump on it. We do it for about 3 hours and then we're done. And you're going to think, there's no way you can get through everything in that amount of time. Yes, you can. When you don't have behavioral dysfunction going on in the classroom and there's not 25 students and you're not having to take 10 minutes to march to and from the cafeteria, you really can get all the instruction needed in 3 hours. And in fact, if you do more than that, you make your kids socially awkward. And I say that because I have a 17-year-old that started doing college at 14 and a 15-year-old that was ready to do college at 12. And that's just because you get through so much material in homeschool and their ability to communicate through writing gets so elevated because you are there getting one-on-one instruction. You really don't want to do more than 3 hours a day or they're bizarre. And isn't that kind of liberating? Isn't it kind of liberating that you don't have to be doing this for 7 hours a day? So that is my flow for right now. It's going to be changing in a couple weeks as we are done with the End of Mental Illness series. And when we get there, we will share the new rhythm of life.